All right, everybody, how we doing today? So today I got a 03700 that won't start. So today's episode is going to be how to diagnose and replace the fuel pump. So let's get into it. First thing, of course, we're going to try to start it. And that's the bendix. Okay, nothing. So what I do to confirm it's a fuel pump issue. Now on this machine I have already done a carburetor on it and I know the carburetor is good. So basically, a little bit of starting fluid, open her up, suck her down. She fires. So we know it's not an electrical issue. We know it's definitely not getting fuel. It's starving for fuel. So let's get into it. So on all of the Polarises, the fuel pumps for the carbureted motors are up here. Doesn't matter if it's a Sportsman, a Magnum, an Expedition, they're all in the same spot. And there it is right there. So you have a vacuum source that comes off of the engine on a twin or off of the vacuum port on a single on the carburetor. That vacuum pulses the diaphragm in here, which allows fuel to come in from your fuel switch and goes out. It's real simple. And these just basically go bad. Very, very easy job. First thing I do is once we try the starting fluid and confirm we don't have any electrical or any issues like that, you're going to want to pull your fuel line off the carburetor, like I've done here. Make sure your valve is in the on or reserve position and just crank the engine. And when you crank the motor, you should have a pretty good stream of fuel coming out of this. If nothing comes out or it like spurts and then stops and spurts, it's definitely a fuel pump issue. And then the last thing we're gonna have to confirm is just to make sure we've got good vacuum. So again, yeah, we've got no fuel coming out. This line right here, this is your pulse line. This comes off either the vacuum port on the carburetor or the vacuum port on a twin is on the cylinder head, right in front of the throttle body. And what you're gonna wanna do is take this guy off, and there we go. You're gonna wanna take it off, and then you can use a vacuum gauge and put a vacuum gauge on this, or you can just lightly put your finger over it and crank it. And I've got pulse. I can feel it sucking my finger in. So therefore, you know you don't have any issues on the vacuum side. So it's definitely, we've confirmed, it's a bad fuel pump. So it's time to change this guy. So what we're gonna wanna do is, first thing is take your lines off. Now, before you do that, get some masking tape, okay? And you're gonna wanna mark your lines. Now, you can always take a picture with your camera so you can see, but this is what I do. Actually, I know how they go, but this is how I tell people to do it. So the first one, you're gonna wanna write a P on, okay? And your P is your prime. That's this guy right here. Now you can write a V on it if you want to, but there you go. That's your prime. Okay, your next one, this is your out. So the bottom is the out. So again, take a piece of masking tape, write out, or whatever you want. Just mark these so you know. You can also draw a diagram and do 1, 2, 3 so you know. But there you go. There's out, and then the top one is going to be in, because that's your, so we're going to write in. But just make sure that you mark everything to how you're comfortable so you remember or know how they all go back on. So there you go. So now you're going to take a pair of needle nose and just grab your clamps. These are little pinch clamps. I'm just going to grab them and pull them down. Same thing here. This one, grab it and pull it down. Now, I don't recommend reusing these, replace them. Most fuel pumps will come with new clamps, or you can even get actual twist clamps. And if the hose is stuck, you can just grab it a little bit and give it a couple little twist arounds, and it pops right off. And make sure your fuel's off, because you don't want fuel coming out of your gas tank. Okay, then grab yourself a ratchet and a 3/8 socket, and pull this bolt off and this bolt off. Okay, and once you got those off, it'll come out. Now, some of the Polarises are a little different. They may not use bolts, they may use like push pins, but it's the general idea. So let's get that out and we'll get on the floor. There we have it. That's your fuel pump with the bracket. I was gonna have two 5/16 nuts on the back. So pretty much just take these guys off and pull your pump off. And there we go. There's your fuel pump. And basically now the assembly is just the reverse. Now the other thing too is on the back of these pumps, there's a little breather hole right here. And these breathers get plugged up and can cause issues. And I've seen a lot of them plug up with dirt on there, and it just basically sits behind this plate. So sometimes that's your cause too, but these things are cheap. They're 20 bucks on Amazon. Just replace it. So, all right, we got that, and the next thing we're gonna work on is actually getting the valve changed. The next step is gonna be replacing the valve. Pretty straightforward and easy to do. Phillips head screwdriver takes the handle off. Takes the handle off. Then you're gonna have a plastic nut. Use a pair of pliers. Just break it free, and then once it's loose, you can just, there you go, take the nut off, and then your housing pops right off. Just like this. Now, depending on your machine, your setup might be a little different from this. They change from model to model, but the theory's all the same. So you're gonna have these are your two ends, one's on, one's reserve, and this is your out going to your fuel pump. Now I've already taken the hose off, which is this one right here, and see, that's the one I marked in, because that goes into the fuel pump. All right, now, crucial, what you're going to want to do is take a pair of needle nose vice grips and pinch both of your fuel lines off, because once you pull these off, they're gonna just spray gas everywhere out of the gas tank. So this is what I do. They also have, you can get, you know, hose crimps and whatnot, but this is what I do. So, and then now when you take it off, you'll just get a little bit of gas will come out. And there. And same thing, like when you mark these, you can mark them front and back, you know, F and B. Same thing, front and back, but there's your valve. But pretty much reverse is pretty straightforward. Just pop it back on your fuel lines. Put your clamps back on. And then there's this one. Okay. All right, so we got the valve in. Basically, you're gonna tighten down your lock nut, and then put your handle back on. And I replaced the fuel filter. The other thing that you might want to consider too while doing yours is replace your fuel lines while you're at it, because these fuel lines over time can become bad and may need to be replaced. So if you're in here doing all this, I'd recommend doing fuel lines. I did the fuel lines on this bike about 2 years ago, They were pretty bad, so I replaced them then. So there we go. So we got that in. We're gonna put the fuel pump in, which is just pretty much the reversal, and we're gonna see if we get this thing fired. All right. So as we can see, the new fuel pump is installed. I did replace this hose, new fuel filter. So this bad boy should fire right up now that it's got a fuel pump in it. Let's try it out. Not too bad, huh? So everything's set. We did the switch, we did the pump. She runs again, everything's going good. So the next thing we're gonna do on this quad is the water pump. Yes, it's not flowing. So next video is gonna be on changing the water pump on it. So until I get that one up, I'll see y'all on the next one.